I need to.
You're good to go.
Hi, this is Jerome from Signature Cruise and Travel, powered by Travelution. Glad that you were able to join us today, and I look forward to this particular training session. It will be one of maybe 2 or 3 parts, and you'll see why in a very few moments. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we'll go ahead and move forward. Share my screen. So I wanted to, as we were just having a discussion about cruising, and cruising has been one of the great parts of our particular success in our travel business. And so we definitely wanted to get people familiar with cruising and what you need to know regarding cruising and how you can become successful in the business of in the travel business through the cruise industry. So this session is going to be entitled Cruising 101. This is just the introduction. It's designed just to give you a brief overview of cruising, some of the things that you should know when you are selling cruising and servicing cruising for your clients. So let's go right on in. There are a number of major cruise lines, from Princess Cruise Lines, Carnival. There's plenty on this list that you see in front of you. Disney Cruise Line, Norwegian, Celebrity, Silver Seas, Royal Caribbean, Holland of America, Crystal Cruise Lines, Cunard. There's just a host of cruise lines. There's a lot of different cruise lines out there, and you have clients that will be interested in one or the other. Typically, the mass will be interested in probably the top 3 to 4, but it's very good for you to know about each of these cruise lines. What's the nature and character of them? What audience or travelers do they appeal to, so that when you're discussing your clients' cruise vacations, you can give them options that they would not perhaps be aware of if you become familiar with as many of these cruise lines as you can. And I've been working in this industry for nearly 7 years now. I don't know all of them by heart for sure. Some have gone away because of COVID. Unfortunately, it's got sold away to smaller ventures that are in Europe and other places in the country, in the world. So there are many, many cruise brands to become aware of. I would recommend trying to get familiar with at least the top 5 to 7 of them. The rest you can certainly learn as you go along, but there's a lot to know about the different brands. So let's kind of go right into it and see, we'll see what's going on here. Just recently, not too long ago, MSC Cruises became available, as well as Virgin Voyages. MSC is primarily a crater ship company that I would say, I forgot the number of years, it might have been about 4 or 5 years ago, MSC got into the cruise business here in the US. They were in the cruise industry in Europe, and then they brought it to the US with a couple of their ships sailing out of Florida. Virgin Voyages, unfortunately, got into the cruise industry just before the pandemic, and before they could really even sell their first ship, everything got shut down. So Virgin Voyages, unfortunately, came into the cruise industry at a really bad time, and so they're certainly, as they delivered their first ship, had to stop the whole process of the cruise industry for them. And now, as things come back up, hopefully they'll be able to get started. But it's unfortunate with their timing in particular. But they'll make it, and because this industry is so popular, they'll do just fine. There are different cruise groups that you should be aware of. Carnival being the largest cruise industry corporation. Most people know Carnival because of the actual brand Carnival Cruise Line, but Carnival also has a host of other cruise lines that work under and with them. Holland Cruise Line, Seabourn, Cunard, to name a few, Princess, P&O. Now, some of these cruise lines have been sold away. So I think P&O is no longer with them, if I remember correct. And so because of COVID, there's been a shift in the brands. Some of the ships have been sold off to smaller brands that are primarily in Europe, startup companies or companies that just had one or two ships that took advantage of the reduction of inventory or sailings and sold off their ships. And so Carnival, some of these brands may not be there, but under Carnival, there are all of these brands that you should be aware of. Royal Caribbean Group has the Celebrity Cruise, Celebrity X Cruises and Asmarada, and then Silver Seas. All of these particular brands are under the Royal Caribbean Group. Most people know about Royal Caribbean, but very few would know that Royal Caribbean actually has these other sister companies as well that work under them. And there's a reason for that, and we'll try to get into that in a few moments as to what's going on, or why that they have these different groups for each of these major cruise lines. So Royal Caribbean is number 2 as far as world's largest cruise lines, and then we have the Norwegian Cruise Line and their holdings. Most people know about Royal Cruise Line and but there's also Regent 7 Seas Cruises and Oceania Cruises that they also have under their brand. And so Royal Norwegian is number 3 as far as world's largest cruise holding company. And so they are, even though they're number 3, they're still quite large. So just to kind of summarize a few things here, Carnival and all their holdings are listed under the Carnival corporations in this slide. Then we have Royal Caribbean with theirs. And as I said, there's, I think, one or two of these have already been sold away from these companies. But then you have the independents like MSC that it doesn't have any groups under them. Disney is a cruise line that has come up in the, I would say in the last 7 years, if I remember correct. And then of course, Virgin Voyages we've already spoke about. And so they are considered independents because they're not owned by anybody else, and they don't have any other smaller companies under them. We wanted to also discuss a little bit about river versus ocean cruises. Now, as I said earlier, cruising has been a major industry. And there's so many segments of it that we could certainly discuss as far as the types that are available. But one of the major types is going to be river versus ocean cruises. River cruising is something that is a beast all to itself. It's primarily in Europe, but we do have a couple of river cruise companies here in the US to speak of that people do take advantage of. So it's definitely worth looking into and studying river cruising and what's available as far as the companies and the products that are available. So with river cruising, let me just speak a little bit about them. With river cruises, the ships are usually a little bit smaller. And I picked this picture in particular because you can't get a major ocean liner under that bridge, but that you see in the picture. But a number of these river cruises, one of the great things about them is because they're smaller, they can get to places that the largest ones can't. And so they have a unique market all to themselves that, quite frankly, the big ones can't get to. And that makes it that much more of an industry for us to be able to learn about and serve our clients, and certainly share with our clients as they, especially when you're talking about experienced cruisers that have been cruising for years, and they're kind of looking for something different because they've done the Royal Caribbean or the Carnival or even the Norwegian, and they've done those Caribbeans or the Mexico or the Southern Caribbean itineraries, and they're looking for something new or different. This is where, if you are aware of it, you can discuss with these clients the possibility of doing a river cruise. Now, river cruises like I said, is a whole different product, and it's worth getting to know a lot about river cruises because they offer so much. For instance, their itineraries are port intensive. Now, what I mean by that is that with river cruising, most of your day is actually at a port, visiting a different town for the entire day, and sometimes overnight stays. So that what people are able to do is, they have their hotel on water with the river cruise, and then they get to explore a whole town, eat out to dinner in that town, and come back late at night and relax, and maybe even the following morning get up and explore the town some more before the river cruise actually goes to its next port. What's special about that is that you really get a chance to get immersed in the culture that you're visiting, as opposed to some of the larger cruises where the port stays are shorter. The distance between the ports are shorter as well for river cruising because you have all of these different unique towns along these rivers, and especially in Europe, you're able to get to them quicker, and that's why they're able to stay for a long time, because it doesn't take a long time to get from one port to the other. And so you really get an opportunity to really get to know the culture, the people, the food, the visiting a lot of the people and the places that are to visit in that area without kind of rushing or feeling rushed. And so you really get to know what you're visiting, as opposed to like a short visit. It's almost like a short stay, as what I like to think of it as. So on the river cruises, as you can see in the ship that I have in the picture, they're significantly smaller. So the entertainment is usually a lot more low key. Maybe a 3-member band on the deck, on one of the decks, or a piano player, something of that nature, but not the big productions that some that are used to for the larger ships, or that you're not going to see that there. There's just not the capacity to do that. The shore excursions are limited, but culturally focused, as I was driving to a little bit earlier when you're on a river cruise. When we say limited, is that it's not that there's not much to do. What I mean by limited is that because you have such a long time to really enjoy these excursions, you have fewer that are longer, as opposed to a whole lot of little ones, so that you get a chance to travel deeper into the country and really get an opportunity to explore and really get to know what there is to learn about that particular area that you're visiting. And it's just wonderful because you get to really, you can rent bikes and really travel. And it's like having a little travel session with each stop, is what I guess I'm trying to say. With river cruising, there are various brands to be aware of: Ama Waterways, Avalon Waterways, Crystal Cruising, Emerald, Viking, and Uniworld. And some of these cruises are unique in the sense that the type of, or the place in the country, or the type of locations that they go to. The American Queen, for instance, however, is a U.S.-based river that goes up and down the Missouri River, and just a couple of other rivers here in the U.S. And it's a wonderful alternative for those people that don't want to go into open sea, so to speak. They want to be able to experience the cruise life, but be able to see the shoreline fairly close. Now, I don't know anybody that's going to be able to swim, even though these rivers are not as big as ocean. I do recall when my wife wanted to go cruising, I wanted to invite my wife to cruise for the first time. She said she didn't really want to go because she wouldn't be able to swim to back home if she needed to, if something happened to the boat. But even the best of swimmers wouldn't be able to do that if they were ocean cruising. But the same thing with river cruising. Even though you can see the shore, it's quite a far distance away. But river cruising is very unique and special, and American Queen has opened up some very great itineraries, especially in the last couple of years. They've actually added one or two more ships to their fleet, and it's a wonderful option for those people that are interested in cruising, but not necessarily wanting to get out in the water. So American Queen is a very good company to know about, especially especially also if they don't have a passport, because American Queen is cruising up and down within the U.S., and so that you don't have that worry about a passport. So that's another reason why if you have a client that says, "Hey, I would like to experience cruising, but I don't have a passport," you have something to offer to them. So it's great to know these different products that are available for you. The scenic cruises is the ones that have more of the nature type of cruising. I love those as well. So there's a whole host of types of river cruises that we can speak to, but for the purpose of this particular training, I wanted to make sure to give everybody that's listening an opportunity to just know what's out there on a broader spectrum. What we're hoping to do in sessions to follow is kind of do a little bit more of a deep dive regarding cruising. Now, ocean cruising, ships are much larger and carry 9,000 or even almost 9,000 or more passengers. The most recent cruise ship that we just explored was the Mardi Gras just this past week, and then the Royal Caribbean just came out with another ship that holds up to 9,000 passengers. Just think of it, 9,000 people on one ship. We're talking about small cities on the ship. There's a lot to offer with ocean cruises. They're huge ships with so much to offer. So the itineraries has shorter port stays in most cases. There are fewer, and the reason why is because the distances between the ports are longer. Sometimes you could travel between 1 to 3 days between these ports of call. So because they're further apart from each other, the ports of calls have to be shorter. So they can be somewhere between 6 to 8 hours. You arrive, you get off the ship around 9 or 10 o'clock, and you have to be back on the ship about 3 to 5 o'clock, depending on what your next port of call is. And that's because these ocean cruisers need to travel to the next location, which is much further away. So you don't have the advantage of the river cruises where your next stop is the next town down the river. So that's why those ports of call can be shorter. Instead of what you would have when you are doing river cruising. The entertainment options, however, are numerous. The Mardi Gras is the first by Carnival, which is the newest ship that Carnival has a roller coaster on the ship. We visited Norwegian's Epic about 2 years back. It was sailing out of Los Angeles. It has bumper car track, not just nothing to sneeze at bumper car track. We actually drove these bumper cars. It's a whole track to get around it at full speed on the car. On the boat would take you maybe about 3 minutes or so. It's a good size track, challenging track. They put a lot of effort into these things, and what happens is these cruise lines are always competing for the next adventure. Because, like I was indicating earlier, you have people that cruise frequently, several times a year in some cases, and you want to make sure that you're giving them something new and fresh. And so these cruise lines get more and more inventive about what the type of adventures that they have in store for you. And so everybody knows about the water tubes and things of that nature, ice skating rinks. It's amazing what the entertainment options are these days in cruise lines. When I heard about ice skating rink on a ship a couple of years back, I'm thinking, why would somebody ice skate? You trying to get away from the cold, but people like to do different things, and so they have ice skating rinks as well. So it's great to know about what these ships offer, which brands offer what. Oftentimes, what they offer will determine the type of clients that they're really focused on as far as attracting to those particular ships. And so it's great to know about these different options that are available to you when it comes to cruising. The shore excursions are numerous when it comes to these large ships. Just think, you have 6, 7, 8, 9,000 people to entertain. And so there's quite a bit of excursions that are available. They're usually shorter. They're usually up to maybe about 5 hours, depending on the distance away from the ship that you have to travel to. So I'm including the travel time to the Dolphin Cove or something of that nature, or the ATV driving adventure, or the discovery of the different falls that are in the area that you're visiting. And so there are numerous options available when it comes to excursions with these ocean cruise, but they're usually a lot shorter than when it comes to river cruising. So you get to, the more you study about cruisers and the different facets that are available to you, the more equipped you are to be able to share with your clients their needs as they're expressing what they have in mind. So another thing I want to just kind of discuss with you when it comes to cruising is cruising lingo. This is very important when you're discussing cruising with your clients. So in this picture, for instance, we have the bow, which is the front of the ship, as you can see labeled here. And then we have the stern, which is the rear of the ship. And most people don't know the difference, but you know, when you hear the word stern and you hear the word aft, everybody thinks of the same thing, the back of the ship. But technically, the stern is the rear of the ship, considered on the outside of the ship, on the back end of the ship. The aft is considered the rear of the ship from inside the ship. And so the stern is actually the opposite of the bow, meaning the front of the ship versus the rear of the ship. And the aft is considered the rear of the ship from the inside the ship. And so those are just good things to know when you're talking to your clients, because the moment you oftentimes open your mouth, they know exactly where you are as far as your education towards cruising and this very important vacation that they'll be taking. The port side is the left side of the ship. The starboard side is the right side of the ship. These are things that in conversations, many times clients will refer to, I want a cabin on the port side. You got to know what that is. And you don't really want to be asking your client, what do you mean? This is stuff that they would expect you to know. The galley is the kitchen. The head is the bathroom. The deck is each level or each floor on the ship. Please don't tell somebody I placed your cabin, I booked you on the cabin on the 5th floor. It's the 5th deck. And so that lingo is key and important, especially with the more experienced cruisers, that will give them understanding that you are understanding what something about these ships, and you know what you're talking about when you're talking to them about these ships. And the stabilizer, that's the underwater fins to minimize movement in rough seas. So most people are not aware of it because they don't see them, that there are stabilizers under these ships. And now they have stabilizers that are inside the ship that operate automatically, that shift water pallets from one side of the ship to the other. So if the ship is leaning this way, the stabilizer inside the ship is leaning this way so that the ship stays this way. So it's that type of technology that once I became aware of it, it was helpful for me to help alleviate clients' stress, and sometimes as relates to when they hear about rough seas. And what about these big ships? How are they going to handle rough seas? Well, if you know about stabilizers in the internal or the fins on the outside, these are conversations that you'll be able to have to help them calm them down. And you'll have questions such as, you know, what's the best part of the ship to stay in when there is rough seas, closer to the water or higher? Most people would say higher. They're thinking that higher, that's where all the suites are. That must be where it is. But if you really think of it, the taller the ship is, when it leans, this part is leaning more than down here. So it's actually better to be at a lower part of the ship where you're not feeling the movement as much. When you're in the upper part of the ship, you feel it more. And so when clients have inhibition about, that type of, or they're very sensitive to motion, I tend to put them at the best lower cabin I can get them. I don't usually put them all the way at the bottom of the ship, but I certainly will try to maybe do decks 5 to 8 rather than 17 to 18 or 19. I think you know what I mean. So that's something to, if you're aware of, you know about. So let's continue with lingo, so that we're all kind of caught up a little. So we have, as I'm pointing here, we've already talked about the bow. The bridge is this area right here where they command the ship. You'll see that it's extended from one end of the ship to the other so that they can actually see behind the ship as much as possible. We have the radar that's in the back. That's those tall balls on the top of the ship. They're covered. It's a spinning radar, but they're covered in these balls, and those balls are balls because they have a less friction against the wind. These are things that when you mention these in conversation with clients, it gives them more of a confidence about you knowing what you're talking about when you're working with them to book a cruise. The stacks are these items that extend usually in the back of the ship, where the smoke or the exhaust from the engines come from. The promenade deck. Promenade deck is usually the outside deck that's surrounded by the rest of the ship. It's an outdoor. It's usually pools in there. That's considered the promenade deck in most cases. Now, different ships may call it something different, but it's technically a promenade deck. They'll call it the pool deck, for instance, or something of that nature. But the technical aspect of what it is, it's a promenade deck. And then we've already talked about the stern, the outside rear part of the ship. Down here, while you can't see it, there's little portholes. Portholes are those cabins that have little windows that can't open. They're usually down towards the lower level of the ship, and if there's a reason for that. And I've been on ships where I've stayed in one of the lower cabins, and there's been times where the water would splash, and those portholes are watertight. These are things to know, so that when you're talking to clients that don't know, you can give them the confidence that they are safe. Excuse me. They're safe with as far as the staying in cabins of that nature. It actually was fun for us when we stayed in the cabins, just watching the water splash up against the window. Now I had full confidence, but my wife wasn't too cool about it when the water seemed to like be semi-submerged, like the sea waters were so high, it seemed like you were underwater. And I've actually had clients that ask me, are you giving me a porthole cabin? Does that mean I'm going to be under the water? Will I be able to see the whales and the fishes under the water? I've literally had questions like that. There are no staterooms that are underwater. But it's a question of people that I've been asked. So you got to know these type of things so that you can answer them confidently. We do have lifeboats on each cruise ship, as well as all types of ships. There's always lifeboats or some level of a lifeboat. So these orange items that you see, you can't see them too well, are lifeboats. They are boats that can typically hold anywhere between 200 to 350 people in them. And then, of course, remember, you have to have enough lifeboats for all passengers on the ship. So as a result, some of those lifeboats also are kind of ones that are inflatable. So you'll see what looks like sometimes barrels off to the side of the ship alongside those, that once you release them, they become whole ships, but they're inflatable. So it's when somebody asks you, it doesn't look like there's enough people, enough lifeboats for everybody on the ship. That's something that you can explain to them, and that's why I'm explaining it to you, so that those people that are first timers, not quite aware, they're not quite sure, and they feel inhibited about going on open seas. Cruising is one of the safest vacations that you can have, and by you explaining this to your clients with confidence, because of you studying them and getting to know these cruise ships, the better you are going to be able to articulate and of course close on sales. and give the client the confidence that they deserve and need. And then, of course, we have passenger cabins that are throughout this ship. So you have the ones that have portholes, you have balconies, you have ocean views, you have interior views. These are all things that we'll cover more on a detailed basis at a later session. And then, of course, you have the anchor that holds the ship in place once it's stopped. These anchors are very powerful. They are driven when they're by hydraulics when they're being pulled up, and they're actually through the front and the back of the ship in some cases. So why am I talking about all of this? I'm for this reason. The travel agents need to be efficient, reliable when it comes to vacations. There are 5 reasons to choose a travel agent or advisor, is what I like to usually say. Number 1 is the ability to provide the best options and pricing. Number 2, you help clients save money. Number 3, and the purpose of this particular training, is product knowledge. The ability to answer questions is why we're having this session here, and why we'll be having more in the line of cruising. And of course, you save the client time. What you're doing is the more you learn about your product that you are working with to sell to your client, to service your client with, the more the time you save them, because you're their knowledge base, you're their trusted knowledge base. And that's a key factor, is having them have that trust and having that confidence in you. How you get that is by studying your products, the products that you're talking to your clients about, having that product knowledge. So product knowledge and why it's important. I thought this was key when I saw this. This was not my saying. This was a quote from an Ensemble study. Ensemble is one of our the consortia that Travelution is connected with. When asked about the skills and services that customers appreciate the most from travel agents, the number 1 thing was product knowledge took the top spot for 65%, with destination knowledge following 53%, rated way down the list was price at 11%. One might readily conclude that a travel agent is perceived as a value partner rather than a transaction facilitator. Now, this is one of the most important parts of this training that I just wanted to focus a little bit more on, because this is what's helped myself become very successful in travel. We picked up on really working on knowing our product. Yes, it's important to save money, but we're not cheapo.com, expresscruises.com, where you can just pick it, set it, and forget it type of thing. People are looking for your advice. In order to give advice, you have to have advice. In order to have advice, you have to have knowledge. That knowledge will produce confidence. And when that confidence is there, people will purchase from you. People will recommend you. People will have confidence in your recommendations. When they're thinking one thing was the best way because they heard from you and your trusted knowledge, they will go another way. And so it's key and important to understand that that's a responsibility that we have to our clients to know what we're talking about. So cruising is a large aspect of the travel industry. It's been hit quite hard with especially last year because of the COVID. And now that we're getting restarted, there's so much excitement being generated. It's amazing. I just left a Carnival Cruise Line at a Mardi Gras media event in Port Canaveral. It's when you're in the office talking with clients and you hear their excitement, it's one thing. It's another when you go into a huge terminal. Carnival has built a new terminal, Terminal 3 in Port Canaveral, beautiful new terminal just built and specifically designed for the Mardi Gras. When you get around all of these people, fellow travel agents, media, executives of Carnival, and some actual people that like cruising, when the excitement that you felt by being around, and there's just a couple of hundred people there in a terminal that can host thousands of people, but it felt like it was full because of all of the energy, the positive energy that was there. That media event was literally, I would say, maybe an hour long, the actual event, the actual, how should I put it, where presentation and this of the Mardi Gras and the welcoming ceremony. They did have a pre-setting where, you know, you had breakfast and then you got to go out and view the Mardi Gras. Nobody was allowed on it yet because they're still prepping. It just came in that morning. But the excitement that was there was awesome. The hour that we spent, hour or so getting there and an hour or so coming back, was worth it because we were able to get firsthand knowledge about some of the things that was done to get Mardi Gras to where it is now. And so I'm able to share that with clients. And I haven't even stepped on the ship yet, the knowledge that came about as it relates to going to that event, because that event was hosted by the executives of Carnival. The president was there, the chairman was there, the CEO was there, the captain of the ship was there, and we had an opportunity to mingle with these people that were there, and we did just that. Travelution was represented at that particular event because we're one of the agencies, the top agencies to work with, and so we were able to, and we're hoping to share some of that, what we learned in the later sessions, but to the opportunity to just be amongst those people that are on the top end of what's the Mardi Gras is all about was just an amazing experience that you just don't get out of a Zoom call or a telephone call. It's nothing like being there to get to know. So what I'm getting at is product knowledge is going to be an investment on your part. Whether it's Zoom calls, which are just fine, whether it's reading the material, whether it's watching YouTube videos of these particular products that are out there. I'm talking about the cruises and what's going on with them, and why do they have certain venues on the ship. There are a number of reasons that they gave us, and just to see how the flow would work once you get once you arrive at the terminal. They have a beautiful terminal that's attached directly to the garage, and as long as you go up to the third floor. And so when I'm speaking to just that alone, if I'm telling a client, hey, when you drive there, get as close to the third floor as possible, because all you have to do is walk across a ramp into the terminal, as opposed to if you're in the first or fourth or fifth or sixth floor, you'll have to take an elevator to that same ramp. So it's little things like that gives that extra for a client. Some people don't want to get on an elevator or stairs. They would like to just be able to walk right up to that. So get there early enough and get on deck 3 in the garage, and you just roll right into the terminal. These are just nice little things to be able to mention to the client. So that having those experiences helps us with that product knowledge just from the beginning of things, because ultimately what we've had a greater understanding of is everybody's trip, vacation, business trip, whatever the reason why they're traveling, before they see the check-in agent, or before they get on the cruise or get on a plane or get to the hotel, their first experience with their vacation is you. Once we understood that, that helped us change our game altogether. It's not as I read down there before, a transactional facilitator. You're not just the credit card machine that they just swipe to pay. You're adding value to their trip or their vacation from the time they call you. And so your brand shows up from the moment they call you. If you didn't answer, did you call back within 24 hours? Hey, sorry I missed your call. I saw I missed your call, or I got your message. How can I help you? or do they have to wait 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, a week before they hear from you? This shows up, and that will either make it or break it for you. And so if everybody on this call is about success, this is part of what we did. It's a lot of little things that we've learned to do for our clients, and it is an investment of your time and effort, and it's just a matter of how much you just decide you want to work this business. As long as you're setting the client's expectation, that's fine. You got a voicemail that says we'll get back to you within 1 to 3 days. If they're fine with that, then it works for them, then you're good to go. We call ourselves a full service travel agency. So within 24 hours, we're returning our client's call, usually within the same day, unless they call late. I got a client that called me today about a trip that they're taking on Monday. I just walked out of church and I took the call. Now, it's Sunday. I don't really take calls, but this is a client that I consider to be an influencer, and I'll talk more about that later. Somebody that I feel that will not just drive a business for what the trip that he's taking currently, but somebody that has the opportunity to talk to others and say, hey, these guys are the ones you need to see whenever you're ready to travel. So I hope this is helpful as far as your mindset. We've talked about mindset in previous conversations or trainings. This product knowledge is what I'm trying to do is add more to that mindset mentality, mindset line of thinking when it comes to building your business, helping people to build your business so that you're successful and get to that $1 million that all of us would like to get to in sales and when it comes to travel. So 65% said it was product knowledge is the reason why they were using travel agents. Just think of that. That means there's a value that you have that people need. Not now. We talked about this before. Not every client is needing that. Not every client knows they need it. Not every client is willing to pay for what you have, and that's okay. So what you have to do is sort out those clients as you see fit, as you decide how you would run your business. 65% because of product knowledge. That's the important part. You are the value provider, not just somebody taking an order and filling it. You add value to it, and how you do that is with product knowledge. Let's discuss a little bit about why clients cruise. These are just ideas that I thought of that from just responses that I've gotten from people, or just the way I picked up on how when people are talking to me, or clients are talking to me, I should put it that way. Cruises are very convenient for people that are traveling, especially when they want a vacation. It's a one-stop for lounging, where they're going to lounging, meaning where they're going to stay, where they're going to eat, or what type of entertainment they have. It's all in one place with a cruise. Just think of it. You don't have to think about where to eat if you're at a hotel as visiting a city. You don't have to think about what show you're going to watch. You know all of that because of the itinerary that's available to you to see what's on that ship. And so it's a very convenient vacation apparatus for people to use. It's all inclusive. Once you've paid for it, once you step in that ship, just most circumstances, everything is paid for. You're just there to relax. You don't have to think about anything. You just you have a place to stay. You have a place to eat. You have options for entertainment. You can go to the pool. You can get on a roller coaster if you got the nerve on, because parts of this roller coaster on the Mardi Gras is actually over the edge of the ship itself. So you're like looking down at water at some point, which is pretty awesome. And some ships even have those water tubes that you can see through them, and you're literally over the edge of the ship. The Norwegian has that racetrack that's awesome. You can just, I think part of it actually did come off the edge of the ship, but you don't see it as much because you're on a track. So it's a great a way to have all of those things in one. It's very convenient. And if you have a family, there's something for everybody depending on the ship you go on. And that's why it's also good to know your product to make sure that you're getting on ships that are multi-generational level ships, as opposed to some that are kind of more so for the mature crowd. And so those are things that you have to be aware of. And some people will say, for instance, like Carnival is the fun ship, and it is. And in this session that we attended just the last week, they acknowledged that. But then it's certain Carnival ships are great for the mature crowd, or certain parts of they have something called the Habana section of the ship in some of their newer ships, and that's a closed off section of the ship. That's the rest of the passengers don't have access to. You have to have special access to get past a sliding glass door to get into that area. And that's a quieter part of the ship where you have your own little area just for like a little bit quieter area, so to speak, with its own private pools. These are things, once you are aware of, you can be able to share with your clients that value that we're talking about, and they will be able to enjoy their trip without spending a whole lot of money on something else that they thought they would have to in order to get the type of quiet that they need. There's a new location. Let me move on. Safe and controlled venue compared to some land options. So sometimes when you fly into certain countries, you're not quite sure what you're going to get as far as what you're going to be exposed to, whether it's violence, whether it's different types of things that you can experience once you're flying into one location. So with a ship, while you still are dealing with people and you never know what to expect when it comes to people, the cruise, it's a more controlled type of situation when it comes to cruises, so that you know what you kind of like what you're getting when it comes to a cruise, especially if you're familiar with that cruise line. What people love is that, hey, you get on a ship and you're in a new location almost every day. You're in Mexico one day, Jamaica another day. It's great. You get to visit these different areas and you're still in your same room. You don't have to pack and unpack. So that's pretty awesome. You know what kind of food you're going to get because it's regulated, and the quality, depending on the ship that you're in, you know what to expect. It's a great social opportunities. People love getting around other people, and I've made a number of lifelong friends off of cruises and people that we just met on cruises. So it's a great social opportunities that people love. They want to be around other people, and you have that opportunity to do that and really have that opportunity to really meet people that that are similar to you and the things that you like. And these ships, there's something for everyone, from the relaxing suite onlys area where it's nice and quiet to the kids zones that they now have in certain ships, or most of the new ships have a certain section that's just for kids. And so they have cabins that are built in that section. In some cases, in the Mardi Gras that we learned, there's a whole section of cabins specific. It's called family cabins that are built around the kids' land, if you will, which I thought was awesome. But if I know about that, now that I know about that, I know not to put a couple that wants something quiet in there, no matter how inexpensive it is. No, you don't want to go there. You're going to be hearing kids running past your door. It might be a little bit louder. These are the type of things that are helpful when you're servicing your clients. And mainly, it's a great price. You can get, this is an all-in-one convenient option for people, and with great, and so that's why people love, why people cruise. Let me just speak about different occasions for people cruising. Obviously, there's vacations, but there's also other things that they do. There are spring breaks, birthday celebrations, anniversaries, family reunions. You have the opportunity to explore different countries. There's the girls' weekends away. I've booked plenty of those. Couples retreat. I've done plenty of those. Not just husband and wife going, but husband and wife with maybe 2 or 3 other couples. Just a retreat where the friends get together. Some things that you may not know that cruises are getting more and more active with is having weddings on the ships. where the captain or a senior member of the ship actually weds them, and captains are actually licensed to do that. Believe it or not, I learned that in my second year, I think it was, when somebody was looking to get married. They were getting married on the ship. And the great thing about it is most of their family was in Barbados. And so, and they're sailing from Florida. So what the family in Florida was able to do was get on the ship. Part of the ship itinerary, we picked this one in particular for this client, was a stop in Barbados. And so the family that was in the USA was able to join the family that was in Barbados, and the family in Barbados was actually able to get guest passes onto the ship to witness the wedding. And then they had the reception on the ship. And then the people that lived in Barbados went home, and the people that were on the ship got to just continue on the rest of the ship's itinerary. But it was a great way of connecting the families from one to the other. It was and it's so satisfying to put something like that together for clients, because when we suggested it, they were like, wow, they were originally thinking about trying to get all the people in the US to fly to Barbados and stay there, but it was so expensive. To do that with the flights, the hotels. Of course, you got to feed your family that once they're there. Remember, the cruise is all in one. So they have the option of they know where their hotel is while they're on the ship. The ships are getting really great with the venues that are on the ship, because they have these areas designed to be able to wed people. They have chapels on ships. I don't know if some of you may not know that, but there are chapels on the ships. And then they had the wedding reception in one of the dining rooms that weren't in use at the time. They scheduled it in such a way where the dinner venue doesn't open until 7, so they had the reception between 3 to 5. It worked out perfectly. And now, recently, what we've been doing is working with clients, excuse me, to have conferences on ships. There's whole conference sections of the ship now that they have. Where you can have full conferences like you would if you're flying everybody into a hotel or resort somewhere on the land. The great thing about the conferences is you have a somewhat captured audience. You don't have an excuse for being late or in traffic or anything like that, unless you consider elevator traffic. But now we were able to market to those people that want to host conferences. So cruises. It pays to sell cruise bookings. Don't miss the boat. Now, when I saw this slide, I was like, I'm using the wrong term there. I know what they meant by that, but don't ever call a cruise ship a boat, especially with one of the staff. You may find one that was upset with you. There's a distinct difference. Cruises are on ships, so please be aware of that as well. So let's talk a little bit more. What I love about cruises, we talked about the product, we talked about why people go, the occasions people go. Cruises do a great thing for you. When somebody calls and asks you for a cruise to help them book a cruise, your money doesn't stop with just a cruise booking commission. When done well, and you speak to your clients, I've had clients over clients pay me in all these ways because I brought it up to them. I added the value to their stay. So when they called me for a cruise booking, we made sure that they had travel insurance. Now that almost just about everybody that we're booking now is taking travel insurance for the obvious reasons of COVID. If something happens, the investment that they put into their vacation, they want to be able to have they want to mitigate some of their loss. So they have travel insurance. Travel insurance with AIG, one of our vendors, you get paid 26% of the travel insurance. So I've sold to people $500-600 travel insurance, 26%. That's an extra $150 that you're getting because you sold the client travel insurance. And it's not about just you getting more money, but you're also helping your client to mitigate their losses if something happens, especially in this current climate. but it's also good to have because you never know what happens when it comes to travel insurance. Everything from lost bags to health emergency to something happens when you're in Mexico and you need to be flown back to the U.S. Because of illness or some other covered event. You're helping your client make sure that they're covered. You can also book their excursions for your clients. Cruise lines pay you for the excursions that you pre-booked for your clients. Once the client is on the cruise and they book their own excursions, you don't get paid for that. It's what you sell or you market to your client and pre-book before they get on the ship. That's the excursions I'm talking about. But there are also excursion companies that that you can sell your excursions through. If it's not through the cruise line, sometimes people will say the cruise line excursions are a little bit more expensive, and there's a reason for that. But also there's companies that do nothing but sell excursions, and so you can sell your excursions through that entity as well. And Travelution does have several companies that we use for excursions that are vetted. And the reason I'm saying that is that you don't want to just sell it with anybody. You can get into deep trouble when they've taken your money and they don't show up to take your client to whatever excursions they were supposed to pick them up from the ship and take them to. Flight bookings, you can get paid for flight bookings. And this is, if you're using one of our vendors like Centrav, where especially with domestic fares, you don't necessarily get any commission from. However, with Centrav, you can add a service fee to your booking through Centrav. So if the flight is $200, Centrav gives you the option of adding, let's say $25 or $12.50 or $20, whatever you want it to be, depending on if they're flying from overseas. That's there's a lot more that you can get from flight bookings, especially built into the rate, but also the service fee that you can add to it. So through vendors like Centrav, you can actually add to the booking and sell it. Then there's pre or post hotel booking. So people a lot of people cruise out of Florida. There's other ports as well in the U.S., but a lot of them come to Florida. And so I always recommend that people come at least the day before, so that if they have these cruises usually depart at 4 o'clock. And if you're not there by, I think it's 3 o'clock, maybe 2, depending on the length of the cruise or the cruise line, you've missed the ship. And so I always recommend to clients come in the day before. Well, that's to save them from if they're trying to make it to Florida and their flight cancels or delays or whatever happens where they cannot get here in time, that worry is off their shoulders and they're here. Well, in order to do that, they're also going to have a pre-hotel stay. They have to stay somewhere when they get here to Florida or wherever they fly out of. Or when I send clients to Europe, they can't fly in the day of. They can technically, but they're taking an awfully big risk. Flights, as we all know, can even the first flights out, because even though the plane is sitting right there, the first flights out, usually the ones I usually pick, can be delayed if the crew doesn't show up on time. It can be anything that happens. So these pre or post hotel bookings there's money in those. Sometimes people they fly to Florida and want to spend a couple of, especially if it's the Orlando area, Port Canaveral, they want to spend a little time in Orlando at Disney or while they're in this area. So there's a post hotel stay. I've done clients where have done both pre and post. They came in enough time to not worry and then spend some time at the location that they were flying into. There's airport transfers. They got to get to the hotel. They got to get to the port. They might as well do it through you. And there are companies that we work with that will transfer them, and you get paid a commission for doing that. If some clients will rent a car. They'll rent a car, especially if it's like a 2 or 3 day cruise or maybe a 4-day cruise. It doesn't cost a lot to go ahead and park it at the port, and then they have free reign to kind of go wherever they want to go after they get back. You're the one that could be booking that car rental for them, or their airport transfers if it's a van that they're picking up. One of the biggest things that I really speak to clients about when I'm booking them is the pre-booking for the next cruise. Cruise lines give a great discount and incentive for people to pre-book their next cruise with a small deposit while they're on the ship. And so we always encourage them to do that because once, especially the new cruisers, once they get a taste of it, they want to do it again. And it was same with my wife when when we first moved to Florida. I wanted to invite her to cruise, and once I got her over the fear of not trying to swim to the shore, we did it. I said, okay, let's not do a week's cruise for your first one. Let's just do a 3-day weekend cruise. Before we got off that ship, we already took advantage of that offer to put $100 down, $125 down towards the next cruise. And what that did is that typically the incentives were you'll get a certain amount of money for spending on your next cruise, or it was a greatly reduced price. There's different incentives that cruise lines use, but the key is that when they do that, that next cruise is automatically, because you are the person that booked them on that cruise, you get the credit for the next cruise that they book as their agent, as long as you follow up with them. And so you not only booked one cruise, now you're on your way to booking a second one. We've made so much money doing that, and continued business doing that. You always want to have clients in a funnel, always coming in where you have to take care of their travel needs. And so this was these 7 ways have helped us to move it from just a cruise commission to 6 other items for just one booking. And especially if you work with clients and know how to talk with clients about the next cruise and making them aware of it, because sometimes they're not aware of it. And this is you adding value to it. If you know that they would like to do it again, tell them about it, add that value, let them get some extra incentives as it relates to their next booking, and you've added value to their entire trip. I'm almost done, but I want to just cover a couple more things as we do this overview. There's types of cruise bookings. We have FIT versus groups. FIT, which is another lingo for a free individual traveler. So oftentimes you'll hear the term FIT instead of saying those 3 long words. And then you have group travels. Now, the picture to your left with the FIT was something I grabbed off the internet, and it's a couple enjoying their balcony stay. The picture to the right is a group one of the groups that we booked. Look at, can somebody do a head count? This was one person contacting us about one trip that I think it was about, not everybody is in that picture that went with them. I think it was about 75 or 72 people that traveled on that from one family. It was a family reunion. You can't see it on that. And I'm just adding to this that I wasn't really planning to, but I just thought of this. Everybody's wearing those green shirts. Those green shirts, when people get together as a family, they want to, get to know, they want to, establish that we are here together type of thing. It's kind of that union type thing. Well, those green shirts on the front say Sampson Family Reunion. If I remember correctly, it was Sampson Family Reunion. I wish I had a picture of the back of the shirt, but what it said was Signature Cruise and Travel and our phone number. What we did was for that family, this is adding value. We told them if you're doing t-shirts for your family, we will pay, I think it was $3 or $5 per t-shirt, just to knock it down a little for everybody that's buying a t-shirt. Now remember, we have 70 somewhat people, so 70 times 3, we may have spent $250. We made a lot more than that. But that $250, everybody that was on that ship that was walking with that t-shirt was our ad. And we were wearing the shirts as well. And the funny thing was, while we were walking on the deck, just hanging out, my wife and I, a fellow travel agent stopped us and said, "Who is Signature Cruise and Travel? That was a great idea." Now, they didn't know they were talking to the owners of Signature Cruise and Travel. They said, "That was a great idea. I need to know where they got those t-shirts from." And then, of course, we told them who we were and what we did. And they said, "That was a great idea." Now, it wasn't something that we made up our own. We saw another travel agency do that when we were on another cruise somewhere else, and we said we got to find a perfect opportunity to do that. And so now remember, they're walking around the ship with this, and we don't know if anybody made any money off of that, or as far as somebody calling that number because they saw the numbers on the back of their shirts, but they still hold and have those shirts. Remember, the front of their shirts have their names on it. So they value those shirts. And so they wear those shirts. And somewhere down the line, somebody's going to say, hey, who are those people? And another family union was birthed from that. And so it might have been a $250 investment. They had a great time, but out of that came another family union. And so that was just an idea that we wanted to share with you and what we did. And sometimes when you're adding value to clients, especially when it makes financial sense, you actually invest in your clients, invest in the t-shirts that they're wearing, and because it goes a long way, and for us it did, because it produced another several thousands of dollars on another family union because of one person was in front of the right person wearing a t-shirt, and they asked, what did you think about them? They did a great job, and so it's great. What I'm trying to say is the money is in groups. How we grew exponentially very quickly within a few years was concentrating on groups. We concentrated on groups using cruises, and cruises, because of all the things that I just indicated to you, works so well because you just take one person. It's almost like a set it and forget it. You're booking one vacation, you're just doing it for 70, 80, 100 people. It's the same product. You don't have to search for a new hotel or a new place to stay. It's one cruise ship, and all you're doing is booking. And much of it, we used Google Forms that we mentioned before, where they just automatically filled it out. We got it, we booked it, we used their credit card to pay it, and you're done. So groups can actually, if you get, you can get 1, 2, 3 groups, and that can be all you work on all year long, depending on the size of these groups. These groups, because remember these ships, I just told you, there's 9,000 people that can be on one ship. You can have several groups of hundreds, and that's feasible. We've come close to that. That group is a real group that you're seeing in that picture there. So it's feasible and possible, and we're excited about sharing some of the details about what we did. This was a broad overview because I wanted to just get you, number one, thinking about your product knowledge, because when you have that product knowledge, you get pictures like this in your portfolio. It's not hard, but it is intentional, and it's well worth it. So next, we'll be dealing with cruising to 102. That's next. We'll speak to you about how to find these groups, how to service these groups. That's key and important because it makes a difference between whether you get the next group or not. How to build your client base using groups, and more groups. We want to talk to you about how to do that. We want to talk to you about how to do that using cruises that are about to get going. And the reason I did it at this time is because everybody is now anxious to get out and go somewhere. And cruising is going to be one of the biggest. They have a Mardi Gras ship that can fit almost 8,000 passengers. There's no reason why 1/10 of it or 1% of a tenth of it can't be your clients. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to share with you Cruising 101. I'm excited about showing you more about the details behind what we did. There was so much more to add to this, but I want to try to keep it within the hour, and hopefully this will have been helpful for you. Thank you so much, and hopefully we just look forward to training with you on Cruising 102.